So according to Mitchell Rentz, Geno Smith may be out the door at the end of this season. And this is nothing that would be surprising after the season that he's had with the Raiders. I honestly don't even believe that Pete Carroll will be here at the end of this season. At every single press conference now, Pete Carroll is looking old and haggard, something that he wasn't looking like in the preseason. He was looking younger and energetic and tackling his coaches and jumping on players. And now he just looks tired and he looks a bit lost, let's be honest. And so I think Geno Smith is gone. He's on a team-friendly deal. We already know this. Getting out from under his contract is not going to be that difficult. But now, according to Mitchell Rentz, who says that family members of Geno Smith have reached out to him and said that Geno will not be a Raider next year. He does not like the Raiders. He does not like the Raiders fans. And, I mean, he's made that pretty obvious by flipping off Raiders fans and having feuds with some of them, like my boy the GOAT. And it just makes perfect sense, man. This is Raider Nation. If you're going to disrespect Raider Nation, the entire nation is going to turn against you. It was an absolute joke that we had a sea of orange in our stadium because, yet again, we cannot seem to put together a decent product for people to spend exorbitant amounts of money on these tickets and merchandise, etc., that they are just gouging the fans for. So if anybody's going to get gouged, it might as well be Broncos fans because we're not going to pay for this crap. I said it last week that we should all boycott going to the stadium until Mark Davis and this Raiders regime can figure out what to do and start putting up a winning product. Now, what's the solution? Geno Smith, of course, he's going to leave at the end of the season. He's going to request a trade, and the Raiders will most likely trade him somewhere else. And that's because the Raiders are in line to draft a very good quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner. This kid is the real deal. Now, I said the same thing about Jaden Daniels, and I was right about that. I believe this year he's the guy. Last year, I'm actually glad that we didn't draft anybody because I even said it last year that I don't believe in that quarterback class the way I did with quarterback class that with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. But I believe that in this class. Is Fernando a Jaden Daniels athlete? No, but he is athletic. Is he a flashy Caleb Williams? No. What he is, in my opinion, he is more of a slightly more athletic Tom Brady in his prime. Here's a couple of things about Fernando that I really like. One, this kid's processing speed pre and post snap are off the charts. Something you don't see with Smith. You don't even see it with AOC. You don't see it with any quarterback that we've had pretty much since Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr had really good processing speed. He wasn't the greatest quarterback in the world, but I think Fernando Mendoza's processing speed is light years above Derek Carr and any quarterback that we've had pretty much since 2001. And so if you get Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 overall draft pick, which is probably where we're going to be, or the number 2 draft pick, I think we still end up with him, even if New York's ahead of us because they've already drafted Jackson Dart. That's their guy. They're going to stick with him. They're going to build around that team. Then the Raiders in the 2nd and 3rd round need to continue to add to this offensive line. Now let's speak about the offensive line for a second. Finally, Caleb Rogers gets put in on the offensive line at guard, and he really shined. No pressures, no sacks. This dude is a beast. He played right tackle in college, and now he's playing guard. And so that transition at tackle, you are both a really good pass protector, but also a really good run offensive line offensive lineman. However you say that. So I honestly believe that once we get Colton Miller back healthy, once we get JPJ back healthy, and JPJ is at center where he belongs, Caleb Rogers is at guard where he belongs, I think that the Raiders will actually have a really decent offensive line which is going to allow our 6th overall draft pick running back, Ashton Jeanty, to have a breakout year next year. Now, I wasn't expecting Ashton Jeanty with this offensive line to come out and have 2,000 yards rushing. But what I do expect is him to have 1,000 yards rushing in his rookie year. We'll see if he hits that or not. He'll have to have some big games. But next year, with a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza, I know he's going to be a rookie, so he's going to have a progression into the NFL. But I think his processing speed, his big arm, and his athleticism, he's going to be day one ready. And that is really going to help things when it comes to Mendoza or that's really going to help things when Ashton Jeanty is trying to run the ball if we have a better offensive line. Caleb Rogers is better as a run blocker, and JPJ healthy and Colton Miller, that's really going to open things up. And especially on that right side with JPJ at center, if you put Caleb Rogers at guard and then our right tackle, you're going to have more room to run. That's going to open up the play action pass. That's going to open up things for Jack Besh, who needs to be playing a lot more. Dante Thornton Jr., who needs to be playing a lot more right now. Get those rookie mistakes out while it doesn't matter. And that way next year they are better prepared to come in and win games. And then Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers only got targeted like 4 or 5 times on Sunday. He needs to be targeted 10 to 12 times per game. End of story. If you're not throwing the ball to the best tight end in the NFL, you're doing something wrong. And that's been Alex Smith's Achilles heel all year. He's too slow to process the field, and so he's not hitting his best and most valuable weapon, and that is our tight end. I think Mendoza is going to absolutely love playing with Brock Bowers. It's going to make him feel like a superstar in college while he's in the NFL. I believe that the Raiders are going to 100%. They are looking at Mendoza. They want Mendoza. They're going to go and get Mendoza, but the Raiders need to continue to lose. And like I've always said, I never want the Raiders to tank a season. I wanted them to do it for Jaden Daniels. That is the only time I've ever said the Raiders should tank a season. Well, I guess I'm saying it again. Mendoza all the way. Raiders better not win another single game.